everybody out there. Russell Hill, your host of WTF, and that is What the FixedOPS to all of you. I'm excited to be joined today by...
I'm Charity Dunning. I'm co-host here today, and today we are joined by Wendy Reeves. She is the founder of BDC Angels. Wendy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Listen, we have thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of followers, and we are honored, humbled, and blessed to have Wendy on today. A lot of you know her already because, my gosh, we're in a lot of the same circles, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today. But Wendy, we are just excited to spend this time with you so everybody can get to know you better, maybe find out some things that they didn't know about Wendy. So we're really excited to have you on. And so just tell us a little bit about you and what you're up to these days.
Oh my goodness, what am I up to these days? Well, I guess the given is that I'm a BDC enthusiast. I love everything about BDCs and VBCs and basically driving traffic to service drives and showrooms, dealership showrooms. We're actually venturing out into other verticals as well with our what we're doing here at BDC Angels. And we're dipping into a little bit more power sports. We're talking to a couple of people about marine. We are also looking at the dental realm, and we've got a number of things brewing to be able so that we can, just help more people, I guess, more people in more areas. So what we've been doing, I'm going to go back a little bit in the history. I mean,
you just roll with it.
Yeah. So I'm a lifer in the business. I'm a car brat. My dad was a car guy. He was a race car driver, actually a drag racer who got busted up in the 60s and then went to car sales. And his premature white hair, they nicknamed him the Silver Fox. And I mean, he killed it for years. And he was one of the first buy here, pay here guys, dealers in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in the early 80s. So that was pretty exciting. So I've got it in my blood. I went to school to be a mechanical engineer after having a couple of teenage jobs where my dad was GM and that type of thing. But then I decided to get back into automotive. And actually, the day out of college, I started at Amato Automotive Group in Milwaukee under Mr. John Amato, the same day that his son, John S. Amato, started. And they've spanned 3 generations. And now John's son, JR, is running the show. So with Michael and FixedOPS. So wonderful, fabulous family that I was blessed to work with on and off for over 30 years. So in 2012, we left there. We disbanded the large BDC, and I started fixing a couple of corporate stores in the Milwaukee area. And I'd go in and I'd fix it. And then as soon as everything was okay, they'd be like, okay, we're kicking it back up to corporate now. You fixed the problem store. And now, so that just wasn't working for me, but I did realize that I had gifts, from my experience and from some great mentors like David Kane and Greg Goebel early on in my career. Our first BDC was 2007. And I've done everything from the back of the house. I started out as a title clerk when I was 23. And everything from title clerk to receivables to service warranties to, we started CSI calls. The CSI calls... When I left to have a couple of kids, my controller then used to drop me off a stack of paper ROs at the house to do CSI calls.
That was a big deal, wasn't it?
88. It was huge, and that's how we started. So So in 2012, I started doing independent launches of on-site BDCs, coast to coast. Continued that. And then in 2018, I guess I was thinking about this last night. I guess I was a trailblazer in the outsourced BDC realm with offshore dialers, actually. We did our first one with Elite Motors and CarWise Peoria in Illinois. And actually, they've still got the same offshore team, the same BDM, and they're absolutely crushing their KPIs. They've got 20 people, and they're all off-site and offshore. So It's incredible. So to all the naysayers out there that think you can't use someone who has an accent that's different than yours or anything else, it's all in the training and the coaching. That's what's lacking in our industry. So fast forward to the future, that's where I'm setting my mind this year. And that's what we're doing more instead of and we used to micromanage, sales BDC leads as well. But the outsourced call center market is so oversaturated right now and there are so many better equipped size wise to handle large groups. I take on more passion projects, like I do a lot more strategy with dealers and help set up infrastructures basically, and heavy attention. And this, Russell, because you're in our room, but 5 months ago, we started a room in Clubhouse called The Human Side of AI. And I'm working on researching AI companies and the handoff when the AI needs escalation, et cetera, so that we can be proactive of our usage with AI tools in 2024 as well, and set up the handoff, let's call it, set up the human side at the dealership level. So that's kind of what's going on in a little package.
I love it. And I'm glad you brought up the human side of AI. And 5 months ago, whenever I remember the first one, I was in the room and it just keeps building and building and building. It's a Clubhouse thing, but it's also very catchy. There's some major topics going on. Everybody's talking about AI and EV, but primarily AI. Some just looking for more information. A lot of people's opinions over the last 5 months since Wendy started that room, opinions have changed. Why? Because now they have information they didn't have back then. It's not as scary as what they thought it might be, like, okay, Terminator, the machines are going to take over the world. I think in the overall scheme of things, anything big like that's come is can people do bad things with it? But it's amazing because AI in itself isn't anything without the human side being involved. And that's a big talking point. And it's got a catchy name too. But how did all this come about? What motivated and sparked that particular the human side of it? You and a few others that we all know, like April and Martha, or what how did it? Yeah.
So I think we were thinking about the room title, and we wanted to say, so we put the room in what used to be my automotive BDC room that we launched during COVID, that a number of the guys that are now these creators of the AI products and the SaaS products and everything else, they were in our early rooms. The guys at Asodu, all those guys were in our early rooms when we all started Clubhouse together. We followed Glenn Lundy over in early 2021, I believe, right? January 1st, 2nd.
Glenn Lundy.
Rise and grind. Yeah. So it's been just 3 years. But we were kicking around. We were thinking all things AI. And then we thought, no, that's too close to David Long's rooms. And we decided that we would have asked his permission first if we would have done that. But then we started talking about what we wanted to accomplish. And I honestly don't remember it. We were just kind of spitballing a name. And when we wanted to be about AI, but we wanted it to be about the human side, because we anticipated that what would happen is exactly what's happened. When something new comes, our dealers are going to think of it as a magic pill, right? Do I take, what is the movie? Do I take the red pill or the blue pill?
Yeah.
And that all the struggles with converting leads and with service retention would magically dissolve with the pill. That's not what happens. Like anything, you have to make sure. Then the other thing, Russell, was that we had to make sure that they were solving dealer pain points. That's where we came up with the name.
Yeah. I love we use the matrix all the time when people are on Clubhouse and you can't hear them as well, or they're breaking up because they're traveling or whatever. Oh, it's in the matrix. And then I wonder, you mentioned the red pill and blue pill and why people are deciding which one to take. Hell, I would have probably taken both of them at the same time just to see what.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's amazing. Sherry, do you have a question?
Sure. Wendy, we talked to a lot of people in the car business, and they all have one thing in common, I think, and that's passion to work in this business. So I wanted to ask you, you've been in it your whole life. Where does your passion come from?
I know a lot of people use hashtags. My hashtags have really become kind of my identity, the ones that I really, really love and that I use the most.
Mhm.
And what those are is people helping people and stronger together. And my passion comes from, initially it was like we bootstrapped with our first BDC. It was so exciting because we had legal pads and rulers and pens. That's all we had. And, appointment date, time, who are they with? What's their vehicle? We wrote it all down on paper. We had Autobase as our CRM back in 07.
I remember it.
So we bootstrapped it and we got so excited when we found that certain scripts worked because another one of my passions, Charity, and maybe this is a big part of it, and maybe it comes from my history, my dad being a buy here, pay here. I am very passionate about helping people who can't secure financing. I'm very passionate about our independents that need a leg up to get started. I'm passionate about subprime and watching trends. So I think, I don't know, that's a lot of it. It's all that rolled into one, I guess. It's just helping people because that's what we are in our industry, whether it's the person shopping that gets the agent who has the BDM, who has the GSM, who has the GM, who has the dealer principal, who has the OEM,
Right.
helping one another to ultimately create the best customer experience and of course sell cars or whatever. But me, it's about the experience, and that's what I'm passionate about, is forever searching for the current best experience given the current trends and market situations, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on inside versus outside BDCs? And I know a lot more of it in a lot of regards. It's outsourced because of what they have the BDC departments already doing, and their eye is not on the ball. So you come in, and do you work with those people as well, and or a combination of outsourcing? What are your thoughts on that? Because I hear a lot about that today. Outsource is better. It depends on who you're talking to. What are your thoughts on that for everybody, Wendy?
I think it's dependent upon the provider, quite frankly. I'll be completely transparent and honest. And I think the larger some of us grow, I think the service is diluted. I'll be honest. And if you know me, Russell. And that's why Sean Welsh coined Wendy's take and one of my dealers, I'll always tell you the truth. And that doesn't, all dealers don't like to hear that. All BDMs don't like to hear that.
No, they don't.
But I'm completely transparent because if you don't know what's broken, how are you going to fix it? So fact is, if you're going to outsource, make sure you do your homework, make sure you talk to referrals, because I think a number of people do a big land grab or dealer grab. And then, if they lose a couple, but two, and they pick up three more. And I don't know, I haven't been out in the convention world. I had my head down until about 2 years ago. Other than going to Industry Summit when I worked with Greg Goebel for 4 years, I never did any of these conventions till last year when Fred and I started going. And I think that it's super important that you do your research. Maybe that's the name of the game, is that we just get a whole bunch. And if a couple drop off because we're not giving the best experience, and oops, let that one go, I should have done better there.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. So do your research. I think a hybrid is best. I think if you want to outsource, don't do it because you can't get a group on in-house to perform, because that probably stems from whomever was overseeing the team. And if you've got something broken inside the dealership, you need to fix that person who's going to deal with the outsource, the same as you should have fixed the process with the on-site team. There are a number of teams, and this one that I did, I think it's wonderful. I think you can do it as a well-oiled machine, as long as there's close communication. But I tell you what, I think is even better, Russell. And I think what is better is use the outsourced companies for either stopping the clock until your team can get in,
Good
or
point.
mining, DMS, mining for service retention, sales retention, CSI calls. Recalls are huge in FixedOPS. We're leaning a lot more toward FixedOPS, the FixedOPS side of it this year. I think we can make more of an impact because
Yep.
more people are leaning toward FixedOPS. And I'm proud to be a member of SDL for almost a couple of years already. Service Drive Live, and I'm getting a wealth of knowledge from all you guys about FixedOPS. But I think the perfect thing is, like what I've done dozens of times, is hired and trained and launched remote teams for dealer hire.
Okay.
And then I hold their hands for up to 90 days. And then between 60 and 90 days, whoever's overseeing the BDC, I teach them how to manage them remotely. All the tracking tools, VPNs if you need them, this, that, the other. And this could be onshore, this could be offshore. I think different types of people are better at different roles in the store. So I think the best thing is a hybrid.
I love it. I right about the time you got involved in the convention. So going back, so we rolled our first product out January 7th of 2020. Charity actually started in my company before I did. Okay. That's a long story in itself. But what she's done has been just nothing short of amazing. So one of the first encounters, which we all know, Kaylee Filio, right?
Yep. Yep.
And I forgot exactly the story, so I'm just gonna. But about cross promoting and stuff like that, because we entered into a new world of Zoom, right? And Clubhouse. And then when it was okay to get back out, now of course we still do this. That's when I met you and several other people, and we were talking about this before we got started. We spent hours a day together, literally, starting at my time, 4:30 in the morning, and on many different Clubhouse. You don't know about Clubhouse, look it up. When you talk about if you're going to go to somebody to get some information or to do some research and find out what the truth would be, the sheer connections that we have made from that are just staggering of people that are hungry and craving, and they want more, and they want to be around people that are movers and shakers and thinking about the future, not being stuck in today or the past. And when I say hours, that's no exaggeration. And so I remember meeting her. I think it was at Digital Dealer, whatever the first one you were at, either that or NADA. And of course, we see each other all the time. And most of you out there know Wendy. But if you have any questions or you want to know more about, the human side of AI, because it's coming so fast, it's mind-boggling. And this is a place where people that care about it are talking about it on the cutting edge. So it's so much information that you're going to pivot back and forth in multiple ways because of the information. On the flip side of that, when we talk about the human side, because we're all human and we interact in these rooms all the time. And then, some of you out there know a little bit about my past, and I think it's important to be vulnerable. And I talk more openly about it only more recently with some prodding from Charity as well. But Wendy, being in the car business, I had some real challenges and problems of character and integrity and doing things the right way and selfish, self-seeking, self-centered, etc. Is there any time, and you don't have to obviously, but is there some things that you would feel okay talking about or mentioning? What was your fork in the road? What was your defining moment, if you have one? And have you always been just the Wendy that we appear today? Or is there another side where you learned a lot about what not to do and what to do?
Well, that's a deep subject. We
can pull you out anytime. It's okay.
No. That's fine. I'm so transparent, and I'm not ashamed of anything I've ever done. I'd probably never do a lot of it again. But it took me a little longer to grow up than it did other people, I think. But it came like this is I'm hoping I can keep emotion out of this because it's the first time I've ever done this publicly.
Please, it's okay too.
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
So I was a super smart kid with curly frizzy hair. My dad used to show me off to his friends. Like he'd go, "Hey, Wendy," with my math brilliance. And they had to switch classes for me in grade school a couple times because it was not fat and it was too slow for me, whatever. And they tested me to move me up a grade, all that malarkey. But, and I was picked on as a kid. My frizzy hair, it wasn't popular then, especially being a white girl. Right. Mm-hmm. So Brillo pad, frizz ball, I heard it all. I was bullied a lot in school. But then my dad would show me off for my math prowess and whatever. "Hey, Wendy, what's 3 + 2 × 4 - 3? And I'd go boom, and I'd give him an answer.
Hey!
Like I was he'd throw me. So, and that was in front of his car, guys. But I did really well in school. I was really smart. Honestly, I think I started misbehaving to get attention because I felt like I only got attention when I did something wrong. And that's when it started.
Oh. What is it?
Skipping out in high school. Like I was the first kid to have a car because my dad bought me a 67 Mustang for $500 when I was in high school.
Wow.
And I had to drive to school. And my friends called my car the drug because we smoked a little weed back then. And they'd see my car, every intention of going to school our senior year, and they call my car the drug because as soon as it pulled up on 83rd Street there by school, we'd end up down at Doctors Park in Milwaukee on the lakefront and stuff like that. So I still graduated with high honors. I did all that and then did well. My dad was trying to get me to go into the Air Force because he figured then he wouldn't have to pay for college. So I got a 97% aptitude on my Air Force exam, and I was going to go into intelligence.
That's not easy.
But then I got scared. I didn't want to leave my family. I didn't want to leave my, safe environment because, and I started out with an abusive childhood too early on. So all those things, I think I was looking for acceptance and attention and everything else. And I drank some and smoked a little, and not much because I couldn't really handle it. I'd get super paranoid. And so I did all that. And then I met my ex when I was 23 years old. And shortly, a couple of years after that, we decided to move to Athens, Greece and raise a family. We did that.
Where did you move to?
In Athens, Greece.
Okay. Wow.
But we were there just a year and had to come back because his brother, he had been a nightclub owner. That's where I met him. So Greek bad boy. So we had to come back, and that relationship was abusive as well. And I stayed with him way too long. And then I found myself in 1997 with 2 kids. And anyway, long story short, I got back into automotive. And yes, I still did abuse a couple of things there for a number of years. And it wasn't until probably 2011 when my mom had a massive stroke that kept her paralyzed, and she on half of her body, that nobody in the family would help me. So that's kind of when I started that, and 43 below wind chill in the winter got me on the road to wanting to leave Wisconsin. And I courted a certain dealership via email or interview almost 2 years before they offered to bring me down. And that's when I, went independent. But a lot of, I did everything else everybody did in the 80s and 90s in the car business when I was there. So,
was there a moment where, a defining moment or something or someplace where you're at where it's like, enough is enough. This isn't working for me. I've got to do something different.
You mean as far as like using drugs and drinking and stuff?
Yeah. Where you turn things around. Yeah.
Oh, about that part? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's an intervention by my mom.
Okay.
She got she shipped my kids off. They were like 6 and 9, and I had dipped back when I left my ex, and I was staying with my mom. So it was easy that I would still go party on the weekends when they were by their dads, never when they were home. So yeah, the defining moment was when I walked in after work from one Saturday, and she had my dad. They were divorced.
Oh my.
and a childhood friend who used to be into cocaine a lot when she was younger. Our parents had gone to school together, and my sister. And my sister says, forgive me, I won't swear, but I'm going to tell you exactly what I said to her. So she said, okay, this is what's happening. She says, you're going into a treatment center for 30 days, and I'm taking your kids. And if you don't, I'm going to call whoever they call, and I'm going to take your kids legally. And I looked at her and I said, first of all, I gave
you can say it.
Okay, first of all, that's not going to happen. I said, no, you're never going to effing touch my kids. And pretty much kind of F you all for doing this even. And I called my ex right away, and he's very narcissistic and very old school Greek. And I said, this is what's up. I said, I need you to take the kids for a few months. I need to take care of business. And he's the one who had gotten me into some of that stuff because they used to do it at his nightclub. So
I'm sure
he related. Yeah. He had a nightclub where all the Milwaukee detectives used to sit at the end of the bar with friends. And, they were the bad boys of the Greek community. But anyway, and he did. And it was like that. I was like, screw you. Nobody's touching my kids. And the realization that, you know what, this could lead to me losing my kids. And then it was like a switch. Plus, I couldn't get any help with my mom recovering from her stroke. And that's when I decided that I wasn't doing her any good. I had the guardianship switched to my sister. I was accepted by this dealer, and I moved to Arizona and just broke all ties and made a fresh start. And I've been here 9 years now.
Wow.
Just kicking butt.
See,
we've seen some of your pictures from Arizona, and it's probably quite the change from Wisconsin.
Yeah, Milwaukee. Yeah.
Milwaukee to the deserts.
All my friends were bikers. I mean, home of Harley, right? So that was our favorite pastime on the weekends, right? A shot of Jack Daniels and a Miller High Life back, that was our life. So, but Arizona, it's distinctly different. Gave up cigarettes, cold turkey, all of it. And now I never had to worry about, I guess I never diagnosed or did this or that as an alcoholic. And I honestly never really liked alcohol. I just did it because everyone else did, if that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone like that?
Let me guess. At this very moment, another vendor is walking up to your lot with something shiny to sell. Before you head back and hide in your office, let me take a minute to tell you about my friend Dawn Pelham and my friends over at Global Dealer Solutions. They exist to help you find solutions to problems, some of which you might not even know you have. Best of all, they can manage as many products and services as needed for you, helping cut down on multiple vendor visits and distractions. And if you need anything, you have one number to call or text for the response all dealers like to hear. On it, GDS understands that successful dealerships require more than a set it and forget it mentality. And they'll be with you every step of the way, from setup, implementation, training, and support. And if necessary, they'll even cancel non-performing products for you. No pushback, no arguments, just a solution here executing course corrections as needed. Check out gdsdealers.com to learn the difference and set up a time to meet. Let's see if they're a good fit for you.
Yeah.
So I love Fred doesn't drink, so that's why I don't do it now. But if I was with someone that probably drank socially, I'm sure I would. I love a cold beer. I love a number of things. I just don't do it.
Yeah, you could either do it or not, and not run with it. So
it doesn't serve me in any way.
Interesting. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's something that that's not an easy thing sometimes. So here. Oh, Charity, do you have a question?
Sure. Well, let me pivot you a little bit. You mentioned this a little bit earlier about you having mentors. So you just told your story. It makes me think, if you could kind of guess or tell us, where do you think your career started based on when you stopped all the partying and drinking and all that high life? Where do you think your career really started? Like at what age? And who were the mentors that helped you through And the third part of that question is, are you yourself mentoring other people today?
Well, that's a great question. That's a great 3-part question.
Remember all of it.
Awesome. It's awesome. It's really awesome. So, I really liked dealership life early on because and especially with my love of math, when I was title clerk, remember the police books, Russell? And the guys used to marvel. They'd give me the last 6 of a VIN and I'd rattle off the stock number. I just knew that stuff. And I just really, really felt good helping people in the dealership in whichever capacity I was. That's where the passion started. And then even when I first left my ex, I worked in a couple Greek restaurants, early shift. When I was kind of I was a stay-at-home mom for 11 years. And right before I got back in, but like I said, my controller used to bring ROs for me to do CSI calls. But when I made the plunge, there was a little time where I was really proud about working in Greek restaurants for some friends because I had joined the Orthodox Church, got really active in our church. I was grand chair of a Greek food booth down at the Holiday Folk Fair in Milwaukee for 15 years till I came to Arizona. And I think I found a family in the Greek community. They say, if anybody is listening that speaks Greek, otibika mesto neliko pneuma, meaning I kind of, that means like the Greek spirit that I kind of learned so well. They accepted me so totally. They were so warm and inviting and very appreciative and complimentary of the fact that I learned Greek and I spoke it really, really well. And I did some translation and I taught my kids and all that stuff. But that part went before the larger part of the car career because I joined a philanthropic organization called Daughters of Penelope with the Greek philanthropic. It's a Greek American Greek Educational Philanthropic Association. So I was president and secretary of that. That was really rewarding. I felt really validated and really helpful and everything else. And then it was more probably when I came here that I got into more of that. And did you say who mentored me or who helped me that?
Yeah.
Chris Cars was my GM for many, many years at Amato. The second time I was back, and he was very good. He was very, he used to encourage me. Like we built great things together with the different groups with the BDCs, and he was very nurturing. That was a wonderful relationship. And then David Kane walked into our dealership in 2006, 2007. He was very much helped me with internet department skills. Before that, Greg Goebel, that's how I got into my BDC career. Greg Goebel of Dealer Strong and used to travel a lot more to dealerships, and he would sell his program where he teaches you basically everything about subprime, from how to staff them, scripting, BDCs, how to book your inventory, lenders you can use, all of that back then. And I was when I came back in 2006, they put me in as an internet salesperson at the Hyundai store with one other person and internet marketing manager right away because their niece had just left, gotten married. So I did that, and I was doing my up calls in an office one day, and Greg Goebel heard me on the phone, and he told Chris Cars, he was pitching Chris Cars. He said, "That's your call center manager next door there." And that's how it started. Like the next day, or it felt like the next day, Chris walked me into a double office that he had just kicked the VP out of, said, "Here, make me a call center." And that's passionate about it. I mean, and as an internet salesperson, I got trained by the alpha dog himself, Jim Ziegler. So, but Greg taught me everything about subprime, and he was always so encouraging and so nurturing and everything else. And then when I left in 2012, he sent me to all of his clients who needed BDCs built. I remember the first one was in the Albany, New York area. And they all end up coming back too. You know what? they need restructuring, they all end up coming back because I just talked to him a few weeks ago. It was Fogg's Automotive in up near Albany. And I started traveling to all his dealerships and he coached me. And then before I came down here, but then in 14, he asked me to join Dealer Strong to launch the BDC portion of his client portfolio. So that's where I got the rest of it, Charity, was Greg helped me to structure all of that. And then honored me by being able to let me do that for all of his clients. So
Wow.
I would say David Kane early on, Jim Ziegler a little bit, Greg Goebel very, very heavily, because he always made me feel like worthy and that which we're looking for, recognition.
Imagine that.
All of it. It's wonderful. It's all wonderful.
Yeah, it's so true. And we've spoken about this before. And there's no doubt that Wendy is certainly a giver, but she'll also tell it to you straight too. But that's all people want. They want to know they count, they matter, they make a difference, and they're part of something bigger. My experience that helped change a lot of things for me in 1996, I went through John Traver's BDC boot camp and early on, and that prepared me for a lot of things for the next 4 years. And then I left retail, which was hard to do at first because the money's so good. But I really never looked back. So 24 years now. So
Awesome.
yeah. No, but yeah, Wendy, you are certainly a giver. And any other mentors in your? How is it important to have mentors?
I think it is. I don't know that I have mentors now, and I do want to answer the part about it whether I mentor others, because I do very heavily. But I would suggest I'll use a more timely term and say influencers. In my mind, my definition of an influencer, I'll tell you who a big one is Glenn Lundy.
That's interesting. Mentors are now influencers.
In my brain.
Yeah, no, it's coming together for me too.
Because he didn't really teach me anything as far as my skills or anything that I didn't already know. But I don't know if any of you knew Brittany Hibden from Hibden Auto Center in Orange, California. She passed in 2020, very unexpectedly at about 38 years old. And she was a wonderful person. And her husband, Sean, and she was a very hands-on DP. She was wonderful. And I helped her BDC a couple of times. And as a friend, she introduced me to Rise and Grind and Glenn Lundy. Mm-hmm. And I was so coming from the place that I did. And I was alone from 97 till when did I meet Fred? 5 years ago. So 2018. So that whole time I chose not to have a social life because I wanted to raise my kids. But, so there was inner turmoil, whatever. Glenn Lundy and Rise and Grind and the Morning Five gave me structure that I needed. Brought me back closer to God. I've always believed in God, but I'd never been able, and that's probably a big pivotal moment too, Russell, is that I finally decided that I don't have to carry the burden.
That's right. You can let go
of anything, personal or professional. I'm blessed with the ability within most of the time, unless it's haters. I kind of have a hard time when they keep jabbing like something trying to get to the wall. But he gave me that safe space, Rise and Grind. Rise and Grind was a space and it was a community. And I love everything I hear him before he says the words every morning. We stinking love you. Yep. This is the only day that, there's never going to be another day like today. And education, motivation, inspiration, all of it. But mostly stuff that helped me here, not necessarily with my skill set. Although I know there's quite a bit I could learn if I were to join that as well. So yeah, Glenn Lundy for a current mentor. Do I mentor people? Absolutely, positively. I love, and I'll do this all the time. Dealers will call me on my website. They'll sign up for a free strategy call and we'll just chew the fat for 30 minutes. They'll tell me what's up. I'll give them suggestions, or I'll say, let me take a look in your CRM. And whether you use me or not, I'll tell you exactly what I see, because sometimes it's as simple as phone skills that are holding them from getting to the next level. But my favorite thing is a number of people have come to me, and there's a couple of girls. And it's really weird. I think that's divine intervention too, you guys, that these people end up in front of me, or I don't know what I exude that makes them feel like it's a safe haven and they can come to me, but they do. And I'll talk to them all day long. And I love mentoring. That's the most satisfying part of my life right now, is mentoring others. So there's a couple right now currently, one that left, most of them that leave toxic environments, or they're not appreciated in dealerships and they want to venture out on their own and they don't know how to get started. So I help them on their entrepreneurial journey. That's the main thing.
That's scary for men or women. Doesn't make any difference. It's just scary, venturing out on your own.
Yeah. Or even if it's you want to stay where you're at, but you need to know how to wrap your head around it so you can deal with it, because BDM burnout is a real struggle. So yes, I absolutely love to mentor people that are looking to get better in the car business.
I think it is an important part of who we are. We can't keep what we have unless we give it away. And I, like you, I've developed a really close relationship with Glenn. It's such a great way to get started. And so I'm up at 3:50. I get it together, have a cup of coffee. I do not reach for my phone in the first 30 seconds. It's a minute and a half at least. So, but no, I get on and I get in, and I've been in listening to people like that, or have relationships with people like that, because it's so important to protect this up here. And it's important that we get started the right way in the morning. Now, I know at any moment we could choose to think differently. And, at what moment are you going to choose? But I think most people would probably say the same thing. It's a great way to get started. And if no one told you that they loved you today, I stinking love you. And just, getting started, breathing life into us, that today is the day. Seize the day. He gets started. He shares that. He doesn't have an agenda, and he's huge into automotive. And when he says, 800% elite, taken out of the middle of nowhere, a used car from an increased sales by 800% to the number 2 most volume dealership in the nation. I mean, he's got it. He's got it going on. But it's just his charisma, and he inspires and motivates and educates. And we need to do that every day, so we have a different output and different experiences. And those are the kind of people that I think all of us deep down want to have. I think some people are afraid to ask for help. Do you sense that sometimes, Wendy?
I do. I truly do. I truly do. And there's, and people aren't used to people helping them without an agenda. Like this one gal, she's with a super huge group, and I would never have imagined that she wasn't happy. And like numerous times, it's like she's hesitant to reach out to me. And I keep saying, please trust me. You can call me 24/7. Anybody for anything, anybody on the planet can call me 24/7, because I don't want them needing someone and not having someone to reach out to, and having it be the difference between life and death. If they didn't have someone, right? So I think people are wary of others because so many have an agenda. So yeah, it's really needed. It's really
needed. Do. A lot of people do have an agenda. And one thing I'm going to say here, and I think everybody probably concurs with me, is that every decision we make, particularly when we say things or do things, as long as we contain it before then, but once you release whatever it is or do whatever you do, there are consequences. And unfortunately, you think, well, it doesn't affect anybody else. It affects everybody. Everybody that's connected with you is affected by that. So that's the old Zig Ziglar philosophy. You help enough other people get what they want, you're going to get what you want, and you're going to be a lot happier. When I'm in my own shit and I can't get out of the way, the best way for me to do that is to get up, walk away, and call somebody and listen to them. And it gets me out of myself, particularly if I can help them. It helps me more than it helps them. They think, oh, I don't want to waste your time. I'm not important. No, you are. And it helps me just as much, if not more, by giving back to you. Everybody out there, you've heard some things hopefully you didn't know about Wendy. but certainly, she's a giver. And when she just said you could call and reach out to her and ask her anything, if she can help, she'll help. And if you need to hear the real thing about whatever it is that you're asking about, she's very transparent, and she'll tell you. It may not be something you want to hear, but it may be something you need to hear.
Well, I know that we don't have a ton of time left, Wendy, but I noticed that you like to cook Greek food. So my question for you was, what's your favorite dish?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, my favorite is a super simple thing. It's spanakopita.
Yeah, I was going to guess. If I could
Oh, we're not going to turn this into a cooking show. Because Charity is that way too. She loves to cook.
We're not. No, but I like, we still do the Greek Easter, and I like the roast lamb and everything else. I like all of it. I had a little old Greek lady teach me 40 years ago, and I love it all.
Yeah, that's the best when you can get someone that's actually from the place where the food comes from that you're trying to learn, not, like the British version of what you're trying to learn. They're like washing cooked rice or something. Yeah, exactly. That's fun. What a great hobby.
Yep.
It is. Charity, what do you like cooking a particular style too, don't you?
I just like it to be good. I'm not super picky on where it comes from. But it does make it harder. So if you want to make Mexican food, for example, then you got to go find a legit Mexican person to learn from, so you can learn how to boil down the peppers or anything. And unless it's like American, but if you really want like the good version of food, you got to find the right, chefs that do it. And so I'm not picky. I'll eat almost anything. But
you've inspired me, because I forgot that it has to be a year ago. One day I was making a spinach pie, and I thought, I have two daughters, Evangelia and Cristina, and they, one of them is her yaya's namesake, and they kind of know how to cook from their father. But I was going to start a video, like a vlog for Greek cooking, and you've inspired me. I'm going to go back to that and do all of their little Greek grandma's recipes on video.
That would be great.
And that'll be a gift to them. And I could probably YouTube it as well.
Yeah. I don't know many Greek chefs that are like truly authentic out there. Yeah. That would be a fun one.
Yeah. Cool.
Wendy, we're getting close here. And I want to thank you once again for coming on, Patrick, for all you do, Charity for making this even happen, because it wouldn't. But what are some of your goals for this year? And how do you plan to focus on achieving those goals? Most of these questions, Charity does a lot of digging, even though I know you. It makes her, and plus the personal side, the human side of it. But what are some of your goals this year?
I am, Kaylee pulled it out of me. I don't usually pick out a word, but when I was talking to her about what I wanted to do a lot more, you were on that show with her. We decided that my word should be execution.
Yeah.
So all these ideas that I've got floating up here, I'm a Pisces, so my mind's always up in the cloud, and I'm a great visionary. But I need to put more pen to paper. If you saw how many pads I have around me and my remarkable and everything, but I need to execute. So I'm going to execute on all these things talked about the last year. But the big ones are going to be working on a couple of different AI initiatives that are going to be huge. And as you know, Russell, we're going to blow up the human side of AI. We've got some brilliant people in our midst. And my goals are, I would like to do something niche that's going to facilitate marketing and BDC working better with AI to convert more opportunities to the service drive and the showroom. That's it in a sentence.
I love it. So you have about a minute, 30 seconds, whatever you want to take. Is there anything that you would like to say, or can you tell people how to get a hold of you if they have some questions and they want to know more about their processes, their people, their scripts, whatever it is? How do they find Wendy Reeves?
Okay. Well, my cell phone number is 414-303-0493. It's on my Clubhouse profile, my LinkedIn profile. It's all over. The website is BDC Angels, ANGELS.com. And you can sign up for a free 30-minute strategy session just to kick it and tell me whatever's on your mind or whatever you want to run by me. That's not a problem. I'm happy to do it. Even if you want to ask me, who do I go to for this, or who's the best telephony system, or who's the best outsourced BDC, or who's this or that or the other. But I'd also like to say we're working on a couple of things that if you're not satisfied with what's currently happening for you for whatever reason, come to us. We're also doing a lot more B2B now because I don't feel like our vendors have adequate representation when they need people to reach out to schedule demos and that kind of thing, whether it's for coming conventions or for their product period. And I'm training up a really elite team of onshore and offshore. So offshore is really appealing because of the price point. And that's why some dealers go to offshore teams, because you save up to 2/3 of your payroll expenses and overhead, and you use an F8BEN form so you don't pay taxes because they're outside contractors. Wow. It's huge.
That sounds like a big deal.
It's huge. So come to me if you want to launch your own team and you want to know how to do it and how to manage them remotely. Those are the big chunks. So, or if you want like a boutique and you want to run ideas by before you go outsource or this or that, call me. I'm your Huckleberry.
I'm your Huckleberry. You heard it here with Wendy Reeves, founder of BDC Angels and many other things. Wendy, thank you so much for visiting with us today. And I know a lot of you out there, when you see these shirts, just listen to them, like them, share them, repost them, love them. Reach out to her if you have any questions. If she doesn't know, I'm going to tell you what she'll say to you right now. I don't, but I know somebody who does. Let me point you in that direction, okay? So once again, we're humbled, honored, and grateful. Charity, Patrick, thank you for all that you do. We love all of you out there, but this is another successful episode of WTF, and that's what the FixedOPS to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.